What the government is trying to do is this. In Singapore itself, they realize that technology will disrupt some of the traditional jobs. The behaviors change over time. Okay, we used to take taxis, now we do Grab. So there are some good stuff that come out from technological disruption. And you will notice that the disruption does not necessarily come only from Singapore itself, only from local players. Your Alibaba is definitely not from Singapore. So you will notice that in future, some of our industry, including the real estate industry, the person that can disrupt us may not be a local player. It may be an overseas player as well. So your threats are everywhere. So then, what do we need to prepare ourselves with? Which is basically what I'm going to share you. Some of the things that you need to look out for, some of the things that you need to prepare yourself. What the attributes I must have before I enter the workforce. Because you are actually in a very good position now. You are very well sheltered, you are in NUS, right? Then, before you enter the workforce, that's where your life really begins. Let's look at the industry transfer. So what the government is looking at, they look into 23 sectors in Singapore. Okay, they look at all the sectors that could potentially be disrupted. Maybe the retail, the hotels, real estate. They look at all different sectors. And real estate is one of the sectors. They look at all the sectors and they see what are the things we can do to help the industry transform. So that they are ready for, if the disruption does happen to their industry, before they actually disrupt them, we prepare them with the skill sets first. This is basically what I'm going to share you. Okay, future, what are the skill sets? And I'll share you a case study and what we perceive the market can potentially develop into. I'll show you one case study called rentals. I don't know whether you guys have done rentals before. If you have rented a place or if you have rented out a place before, there will be some steps that we need to take. I'll take you through the transaction, what is happening right now, and what we feel are some of the inefficiencies. That's what we're going to do. I'll show you current, and I'll show you what I envision the future property transaction will look like based on one case study called rentals. Okay. Then what drive changes, and then we'll wrap up with the future skill set and see whether some of the things you mentioned, okay, ties in with what I'm going to share you. In terms of skill set, they try to upskill us. You guys heard of this thing called Skills Future? Skills Future, once you turn 25, they give you Skills Future credit. Every Singaporean gets it, and they give you how much money? 500 bucks. You can go and learn cycling. You can even go and learn how to play mahjong. Then, the government, what's their role? What they do is they look at some productivity grants. Okay, they provide all these catalysts so that we have an opportunity to upskill ourselves. Then companies, obviously, they must respond. And they always use this term, companies, they are always looking at ways for them to expand not just in Singapore, but to go overseas as well. Because they realize the Singapore market is too small to feed everyone. So what do? We tap into. Just like other countries are tapping into the customer base in Singapore, like what Alibaba has done, isn't it? We, as a Singapore company, we should go out and tap the resources and the funds outside Singapore. So these are things that you guys potentially want to think about. If you choose a company in future to join, choose one that always think about expanding overseas. Because that's where the market, real market is. Okay? Singapore is just a step. Okay, for you to reach there. These are a few things that they look at: productivity, how things can be done better. Okay, they look at the skill set for the workers itself. I expect you to tell me your version of the answer, right? Yes. And what are some of the people waiting for? They're waiting for me to give instruction. Then there's no need for me to employ people to help me, isn't it? If that's the case. I'm looking at ways that you guys can tap on your own thinking and tell me solution, because I'm also looking for new ways to do things from a person who employ people perspective. All right, so innovation, how we can develop. I'll show you some ideas later on. Trade internationalization. This is your government's trust. Okay, that's why they have this thing called IE Singapore. Heard about them? Yes. What they do? They organize trips and they bring our local SMEs out into the world. All right, they have got offices in LA, for example. They have got offices in Shanghai, Beijing, and all that, so that we can connect the people to the business entities there. This is what the government is trying to do. So this is the broad view. The broad view. I want to go a bit granular and show you what happened on 8th of Feb. 8th of Feb, we launched this thing called Real Estate Industry Transformation Map. Earlier, you saw the broad base, what they intend to do with the industry transformation map, and it happens to all sectors, 23 sectors. Then they come to real estate. We have got our own objectives to fulfill. Okay. We want to fulfill two things, two key strategies in our real estate industry transformation. We want to look for a better way to do things. Okay, using what? So earlier you all mentioned the word technology, you're on the right track. Okay, everything is quite tech-based now. Yeah, everything is quite tech-based. And I'll tell you what technology has done to the real estate industry. You guys know who is HDB? Don't know, it's a stat board in Singapore. Yeah, that comes under M&D. HDB recently, they announced that they have upgraded their resale portal. If you buy a resale flat in Singapore, the portal, you can log on as a buyer and log on as a seller, and you can do your transactions on a DIY basis. Means what? Don't need agent. Of course, do you think the agents, the members, the 3,005 members that we have, do you think they're happy? No, they also make noise. What I told them is this. This disruption, instead of an external company doing it, external funds, why though your government is taking the lead to show you how things can be done better. Before other entities disrupt us, we better disrupt ourselves first. So that we know if we were to disrupt ourselves, at least we have an opportunity to tell others these are the skill sets that will help you prepare for the future. We have a chance to do that. Rather than we wait for other people to disrupt us, then we have no opportunity to even develop skill sets to see how to fit into the future economy. Now I'm progressing to take a master's in training and development now. So this is to develop my training life. Okay, my business life is quite well trodden already. Okay, so now I'm building up my training life itself. Okay, so let me show you what the transformation is all about. I give you a vision of what can potentially happen in future. Okay, let me show you what's happening currently first. Currently, when a person rents a property, for those of you who are not aware, the whole transaction looks like this. There's a total of 9 things to do. Okay, some things are to be done by owners, some things are to be done by the agents, some things are done by the tenants itself. And now I'm going to highlight to you the inefficiencies that I saw. What happened today is, if I want to rent a condo from Prof. Sim, for example, he owns a condo, I want to rent from him. He's the landlord, I'm the tenant, right? So I go and take a look at his place, I'm satisfied, we start negotiating terms. Once we are done, we are supposed to do this thing called tenancy agreement, right? And do I need to pay him some money to rent his place? It's called deposit, isn't it? And advance rental. I go to Singapore Land Authority, this particular service called Enlist, heard about it? So I go there and check and make sure that Prof. Sim is the owner. Then I rent from him, pay him the respective money, isn't it? But this check is done by me, manually, as a person, because I'm afraid my money will go to someone else who is not the owner. So I do this check myself on a manual basis. Alright, then from the property guru, for example, he stay Bayshore Park, right? Do I also look at other listings beside what he has? Do I look at what other Bayshore Park is available for rent? So I see. And I realized after making a few phone calls to all the different types of listings, I realized that actually some of them are actually same unit, advertised by multiple agents. So again, this is where inefficiency happens, isn't it? How about this? If I can go to the website and the website tells me this particular unit you saw, we tag a unique number to it, and a unique identifier. If it's advertised by multiple agents, same unique number, then the unique number is the same. The identifier is the same. Can I cut down on the phone calls? Make things more efficient? I make appointment with only one agent to view the house. Make sense? This is the inefficiency part that we can certainly improve. Alright, then of course we ask the landlord for proof. Show me. Then we do a search. Now from the tenant perspective, if I am not a Singaporean, I don't produce an IC. Am I a foreigner working in Singapore? So if that's the case, do I also need to show him the landlord proof that I'm actually authorized to rent from him? So where do we check? We check with the authorities. So we need to check the landlord's identity. We also need to check the tenant's identity to make sure that you are renting out not to a foreign illegal tenant in that sense. This will make sure that the whole transaction is very smooth and everybody is safe, feels safe and secure in the. But all these takes manual things to do. Then finally, when they sign the contract, must they pay money? So typically, I will tell Tian Fu, I say, okay, now I'm ready to rent from you. Here's my check of 1 month deposit, right? Then I pass it to him. Then what must he do with the check? He must go to the bank and drop it. Again, manual process. Are there better ways to do things? Okay, so let me show you. Then finally, once the contract is signed, it's a legal binding contract, isn't it? But it's not legally binding until we report to the government, right? How do we legalize the document in Singapore? We stamp it. How do we do it? Although IRAS tell you can go to our website to do it, isn't it? So you can do it via the website. There's this service called e-stamping. But then, when we do it, do I also need to go to the computer station and do it again? Yes. Again, manual process. How about this? Let me show you what I think can be improved. Let's assume from the association angle, we embark on this service called a portal. So this portal will be offered to consumers to use, agents to use at the same time. So now I draw the first API. When the portal is up, all we need to do is, when the person start logging in, we will pull information. And if it's an owner, then we go to SLA. So we go and knock on SLA's door. Give me information about this owner. Earlier, we need to log in, pay money to do it. Now, automatically, the website takes care of it. After the ownership is out, the next thing that happens is, remember the tenants, we also need to check with ministry. So through the APS system, we draw down the information about the tenants itself. So now landlord settle, tenant settle already. So now all verified through the portal. So what's the next thing we must do? We sign contracts. Can this paperwork be done online and we draw the information? This is where we draw information about individual. We can actually have an online contract, and once the info is out, we can fill out the contract with. I don't need you to fill out forms anymore, because this website will be able to draw down the info and auto fill out the form. Do we have a manual process now? No more. Everything happens where? On the portal itself. After that, then we go top. Banks also throw out APIs. Banks allow us to tenant pay landlord straight away. We can arrange for that on the portal as well. Finally, who's the last thing that can happen in the equation? We need to stamp it. Okay, so we bring in IRAS. Then IRAS comes in, then they can stamp. So can you see, just going to this service provider, link up automatically with all this. Not only the industry transform, not only the player transform, we are also asking the Akong to transform. Yep, so that's generally what we're doing. Okay, so that's from the perspective of the industry. So now let's look at more important to you guys. Let's look at skill sets. Before we prepare you with what are skill sets that you need to have, let me show you what are the things that are driving some of these changes. And technology is one of the things that are driving the change. Big data. Anyone heard about this thing called big data? I'll show you what big data has done to some of the real estate industry, or potentially what it can be used for. I think we can use it very positively. And of course, more and more of us need to be very global minded. My assessment is this: the university prepare you with skills, knowledge. It's very knowledge. So you actually have very deep knowledge on what you're learning. So to prepare you for the real estate work. Okay? What is, I think, lacking is the broad skills. This one, it takes experience to experience it and to develop the skill sets. Okay? So these are things that we think that you need to develop, and I'll elaborate now. So we have deep skills, and we need us to develop the breadth. Okay? This is where we hope as an industry body we can help develop our workforce. Okay? Because all of them come in, just like you guys. The people who take the RES course, they also have some fundamental knowledge about real estate. But these are very deep knowledge. What we want them to develop is here. How to make use of big data. Okay? What happens when a prop tech company comes in? Is it potential that you can actually work for them? This is the tech coming in to disrupt your jobs. In case you are wondering, in case you don't know yet, under the HDB new resale portal, you know that valuation, what's the purpose of a valuation report? Yeah, for loan purpose and for CPF withdrawal if you're buying residential property. So when a person crafts out the valuation report, it's usually done by who? The actual valuer itself, right? A trained and certified valuer. Do you know HDB portal basically now do away with the physical valuer? When you buy a property, HDB tells you the value itself. Which means who is our job? Not the agent. Agent, we do a lot of pre-sales. What they have done is the process, right? So the valuer now are studying for my RES course, because now they're very free, so they can't study RES, try to be property agent. Okay, so this is what happened. Value done by machines now, because why? Your government, which is HDB, they have collected the valuations done by all the professional valuers all these years, right? 3 decades of data they have. Now they can tell you your house worth how much already, because they throw all this data into who? They use AI, they use machine to learn. Because of the fact you're going to operate globally, you do need to know how to learn what the other culture is all about and see how we can talk more effectively with one another. Communications. We want to make sure that we give it the catalyst, the companies grow, we grow financially, we grow exponentially in terms of our skill sets and knowledge. And of course, from an association angle, we see what gaps is left in between, we try to do it